UPC, Congress of the People. Everyone,
UPC,
and everybody,
UPC.
UPC.
Some of the words in that song, where we believe that the children are the future. And what is the future of the children of Uganda? In the previous month or so, I raised key issues on two statistical areas which were of concern to me and the Uganda People's Congress. Number one was the infant mortality rate, and number two was the child malnutrition rate in Uganda. But because of all the noise which is taking place, it got lost. And I think many people thought I'm here to address the noise. I will address the noise. But I don't want us to lose the substance. My cry and my concern, and I kept repeating this, as a Christian, how do I stand before God when I know Ugandan children are starving? In the song they talk about the greatest love, loving yourself. The Bible says you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. In the context of Uganda, who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? When there's injustice, who is my neighbor? When the courts are being stupefied, who is my neighbor? When the children of Uganda are starving, who is my neighbor? And I want to emphasize this point so that we don't get lost. What is most important? Somebody mentioned on media, Milton Obote killed 500,000. Yoweri Museveni has mentioned several times, including once when I was in Parliament, in his estimation, about 70,000 people died in the Luero War. In my speech from this very podium, I mentioned that the infant mortality rate means 84,000 Ugandan families are going to mourn before the second birthday. 84,000. Each year, 84,000 Ugandan families are going to mourn the loss of a child before their second birthday. And what are the reasons? Lack of medicines, lack of facilities. We now have doctors running around, or the minister running around to the hospitals. Would it really cure the problem which has been endemic? As UPC, the Uganda People's Congress presented the most innovative health plan in the 1960s. The targets, beds per capita, 2.4 beds per 1,000, achieved early 70s. Why? Because the government was focused on the well-being of the citizens of Uganda. Its task, the medical profession, the whole health services, is to provide treatment or life, support life of the people of Uganda. And if our future is in the children, and we have a statistic of 26% of the children, which translates to roughly 2 million Ugandan children. As I speak to you today in 2026, 2 million Ugandan children are malnourished. What does World Health Organization talk about malnourished? Stunting, what does it mean? Let me read. According to the World Health Organization, stunting is a low height for age. It is a result of chronic or recurrent undernutrition, usually associated with poor socioeconomic conditions, poor maternal health and nutrition, frequent illness, and inappropriate infant and child feeding and care in early life. Who further explains that stunting has a lifelong consequence. Children who are stunted are more likely to experience failure to reach their physical potential. We don't want Ugandan children. 2 million Ugandan children may fail to reach their physical potential. 2 million Ugandan children will fail to reach their cognitive potential. 2 million will have poor cognition. They'll have poor educational performance, reduced work capacity, reduced economic productivity, and increased risk of chronic illnesses. That is the Uganda we talk about. Others talk about a Uganda where things are growing. Uganda's middle income, but we have 2 million Ugandan children. Not neighbors now. This is at home. As a leader today, can I fail to see that? Instead, we're being entertained by noise. People who want to distract us from the real policy objective for what some of us stand for. I took time also to compile, because there's always this story since 1986. There are also figures for malnutrition since 1986. Although the figures, credible figures, begin since 1989. 88-89, 44.6%. In 1995, 44.8%. 2001, 45%. 2006, 38%. 2011, 33%. 2016, 29%. And 2022, 2026. It's the same 26% as it is today. Ugandan children starving in a country blessed by nature. One of the most abundant water resource, fresh water resource in the world. Now, when you put the totals, in 1988-89, it meant that 1.38 million Ugandan children were malnourished, i.e. having all those symptoms or the potential for those symptoms. In 1995, we had 1.75 Ugandan children malnourished. 2001, 2.16 million Ugandan children. 2006, 2.17 million Ugandan children. 2011, 2.15 million Ugandan children. When you total it all, since the advent of NRM, we have had approximately 18 million Ugandan children who have undergone malnutrition in this blessed country of ours. 18 million. Of those, roughly 16 million are still alive today. And most of those are going to outlive me. But they're going to be a burden on tomorrow's society. If half of today's children are malnourished, are going to have problems in education, are going to have problems being able to be gainfully employed, they'll become a burden to the society of tomorrow. And if the children are our future, what are we doing? Or what are we saying about our future? Are we here to serve the economy, or the economy is to serve the people of Uganda? But if we are sacrificing 2 million Ugandan children today in 2026 to serve this economy, I don't want any of it. My training, my upbringing is to serve the people of Uganda. And who else, who is more vulnerable than the youngest of the youngest? And these are the ones who are supposed to take us into the future. There are many things happening, but it should never happen in Uganda. Those are the sort of policy questions which I want to discuss. I want to debate. So, if there are those who think they can take me on, please, I welcome you. I've seen things on Twitter. Others want to go on a boxing ring. Others want to do it. I want to debate policy of Uganda with anybody whosoever chooses. I wanted Museveni for 2026. I wanted it. I was ready, more than ready. Then now people say, oh, really? I was ready. Those who didn't want it should understand that some of us are focused on more than just many of these issues on the surface. Which is now I'm going to come to, let me address a little bit of the noise. President Museveni offered me a position in cabinet. I consulted deeply, I prayed, I consulted, I prayed, I consulted, I prayed, and I went back to him and I said, sorry, Mr. President, I cannot take this position. But I think I can give you somebody who can serve. He was ready to listen. That is now when I went to consult. And I chose, out of respect of the offer and the seriousness which I take the presidency, I offered my wife. And recently I've seen the president acknowledging that when somebody offers his wife, it's a serious undertaking. That's the seriousness which I approached the interaction. So now if somebody wants to abuse me or wants to attack my wife, find better ways. Find better ways. You don't sit a scarecrow. You don't hide behind. Come out. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm here to debate. You see, one of the reasons I told the president that I cannot take up the position is I think differently. The way I approach a problem is completely different to how those on the other side. I'll give a clear example. Last year, towards the end of the campaign, when we're being mistreated, I'll repeat, we're being mistreated terribly by security forces and agencies. I still reached out and I shared 3 policy positions to the powers that be. Many of my team were not happy. Many of my supporters said, why? But I said it's always important to keep a door open for conversation. Even when Iran and the US are pounding each other, they still have ways of communicating. So even if we disagree and we strongly disagree, it does not stop me from talking. But one of the policy positions I presented resulted in a blue letter which came out on the 11th of February 2026, where the president is writing to the Prime Minister talking about this airport in Barara. Why do I claim this one? One of the policy positions I sold to this government was, at this moment there are many mega projects in South America, most of them being undertaken by Chinese interests. There are a lot of cargo flights currently flying through South America, taking, and these are not scheduled flights, but there are also personnel around these projects. Even in Uganda, we have mega projects which are run by these huge Chinese companies. Most of them are parastatals. There was this air corridor which existed, but was going to be able to be exploited. So I shared this notion that Uganda can benefit. I wanted Uganda to benefit. But there was also some diplomatic issues. And diplomacy is not something which we treat or we handle carelessly. That's why sometimes I get irked by when people handle diplomacy as if it's something their own private affair. It's not. And I wrote, Jimmy Akena writing, while being squeezed terribly, being mistreated. on the 23rd of December 2025 at 15:43, I write and I quote, "This is the one I mentioned, that is only HE who could navigate through both US and Chinese interests as the cargo capacity grows. My understanding, because the president has been there for long, he can score for Team Uganda. Team Uganda must win. For me, it's Team Uganda must win. So I share this for Team Uganda to win. I know we don't live in isolation. There are other countries which are competing, so I share this one for Team Uganda. I'll always be Team Uganda. And the thinking was, when this air cargo come, there will be roughly 10 to 30 tons per plane able to go to Middle East, Far East, Europe. At the same time, you have the European Union has opened the space and saying farmed fish can be exported to Europe. China has allowed all aquatic products to be exported to China. How do you transport them from Uganda to China? You need planes. Where the planes coming from? South America, or they're already there. So what does this government go and do? The president writes to the prime minister. Talk about one airport in Mbara. The argument is correct. The argument is correct. Yet if somebody was to come from Brazil, refuel at Nyakisharira, it would take him 20 hours of flying time. It takes 9 hours from South America to Nyakisharira and 11 hours from Nyakisharira to China. Correct. But that is true for every airport in Uganda. Entebbe, it's true, but true today. Gulu, it will be true. Arua, it will be true today. So what does that mean to me as a nationalist? We need export capacity. We need cold storage in Entebbe. We need cold storage in Gulu. We need cold storage in Arua. We need an export drive to get our products into these markets to support our people. That was my thinking. They ran for one airport. Am I on the same page? I was looking at what can drive Uganda, all these airports, to become hubs for export, hubs for Ugandan products, to raise our families, and also for these families to be able to have nutrition to feed their children. They run for one airport. Can I really be comfortable in such an environment? I cannot. So my policy position is different. But I challenge any of these people who are just making noise here. Does anybody ever presented a policy position which can actually stand scrutiny? Jimmy Akena, UPC, presented a housing policy. It has been peer-reviewed to target mainly the soldiers, the policemen, the prison workers, the teachers, people who are mobile, but to be able to own their homes with dignity. That is UPC, idea for the people of Uganda. Accommodation. Are people serious about the future of Uganda? Shakespeare wrote, "If music be the food of love, then play on, give me excess of it." I chose that song on the basis, what love do we have for our country? The song starts with, I believe the children are the future. If the children are the future of Uganda, why is it that 2 million Ugandan children are starving and we're just there playing stupid politics, doing all sorts of nonsense? And that condition can be permanent. There will be a burden for the children of tomorrow. Our own children tomorrow will have to deal with that burden. Instead of getting the teachers now, when we have children, what are we supposed to do if we're in government? Government looks at the issue of the body and the mind. Education is something which we have to develop these children, let them reach their full potential. I have read here, if you are malnourished, you will never reach your full potential. You will never become what you can fully become. Can we not address that one instead of this nonsense which people are trying to do? Secondly, some of the statements undermine the whole institutions which we try to build. Sentencing is done by a court, a judge. A judicial officer does sentencing after listening to a case. People are now being sentenced on Twitter. before investigation or whatever, before going through a trial. Are we saying that Uganda, we don't have justice? We don't have courts? Or we just try to undermine institutions for our own personal benefit? I hate to think of a situation whereby we lose complete faith in the courts of Uganda, that the courts can never give justice. But somebody is trying to create that impression that decisions can be made and just be implemented. I have made a decision. Whatever they do, whatever they say, I'll continue to speak for the people of Uganda. Continue to cry expression for the children of Uganda who do not have a future. We are squandering the future of these children. What Uganda are we giving them? Debts which are not paid? Debts for what when our children are starving? If we cannot feed our own children, what do we say to the world? 2 million Ugandan children. Can we stand among nations? And our figures were comparative with places like Yemen. Yemen is about 30-something%. Yemen is at war. It's a desert. Afghanistan. Uganda, the pearl of Africa. UPC had policy positions on how to revive the economy. 1980, the campaign, I played the video of the first budget speech, which many people have missed. Milton Obote, as Minister of Finance, in his first budget speech, floated the shilling, brought in the market mechanism. And in those days, in 1981, our party left of center, coming with that idea. This is more innovative than Tony Blair, what Tony Blair played in the 90s. And they say in the manifesto, DP, no manifesto. I've not seen the DP manifesto. Even if there was a DP manifesto, after that election, when Professor Mulema became the Minister of Finance, in his first budget speech, what did he go to? He went and fixed the currency. He went and fixed it. Pick the budget speech and read it. I think it was August 86. He fixed. Next year, it was Dr. Kionga as Minister of Finance. Again, they fixed it. Later on, they had to reverse it back to the UPC program. They took the whole UPC recovery program. They just changed the name, Rehabilitation and Development Plan, not program to program, policy to policy, everything, word for word. I challenge anybody. The fact is there. These people who are part of it, let me go to the library and read. Somebody talks about Obote. Has he even read one of Obote's speeches? He talked about Obote. Has he read the budget speech? I hear. People want people to hate others for what? Hate me for what I say, hate me for what I do. You want to hate Obote? I will tell you, Obote loved Ugandans. Obote believed the common man was his boss. Everything he did was for the common man. The hospital beds for the common man. How many beds can you sleep in? He put the beds all over Uganda. This government has failed to maintain. They failed to expand. Now you see the minister walking around, all hospitals are congested. Yes, population will grow. Obote has been dead for 20 years. Obote has been out of power for over 40 years. Even the president wants to bring up Obote's name. Obote's name, Obote's name. You're now dealing with Akena. You want to create a name between Obote and Baganda. Akena is the son of a Uganda woman. Where can I go? Obote used to say, my children are Baganda. So I am. Then what? So I am. So what? You want to dredge up issues? My brother Mpanga says we must have a, what does he call it? A central nervous system to understand where pain is. Right now, my pain is on 2 million Ugandan children who are malnourished and are going to be a burden for tomorrow. We already have 16 million in the society. We're adding 2 million this year. We'll add another 2 million next year if we do not wake up and change things, how things are done. And how things should be done, we should debate. People talk about, I hear rumors, we're going to go for parliamentary system. Now, parliamentary system, and you want to choose leaders. Who are you? Really? If you have ideas, bring the ideas. I challenge anybody, because I wanted the president. I was not allowed to take the president. Bring anybody. Anybody, let them come. I will challenge you on any policy question. All of you who have challenged UPC, brought anything about UPC, I will defend UPC. Repeat. What the president said about the 60 megawatts, I can prove the president wrong. About the market economy, I can prove. I don't say this boastfully. Everything I produce, I can back up. And I want it to be done for the people of Uganda. Last, came across an interesting write-up on the Commonwealth Conference of 1971, where Milton Obote or the UPC government was overthrown. And one of the major issues which took Milton Obote to Singapore was the case of arms sales to oppressive governments. He argues extensively that those arms sales will oppress the people in that country and in the neighboring countries. I think that remains appropriate today and tomorrow. An oppressive government is an oppressive government. Whether it's oppressing its own people, oppressing neighbors, it's oppressive. Who are born or created in the image of God. Let us respect that image. I end with a prayer that the will of God be done in Uganda as it is in heaven today. Amen. Amen.
If you were UPC and you are in government, would you provide food to those families who are having those children? Would you provide money to those? How would you handle such a situation?
We are told we're middle income, I don't know how many are, all sorts of figures. Then we budget for 10 million children in UPE, where we provide 20,000 for the whole year. Can 20,000 educate a child? At the same time, your parents are told you should not pay anything. There was recently a report I saw on one of the media that about 90% of UPE students go to school hungry and are unable to concentrate. This is what we're doing to set our people up. Now, I'm glad you asked what would UPC program be. And I would actually like those people, especially those in Parliament, go and pick the budget speeches, 81, 82, 83. Much of it concentrated on reviving the rural economy. And the market economy was understanding the Ugandan market. How do you empower the Ugandan farmer to earn money? One of the safeguards was, how does he get fair price for their produce? Those were farm gate prices, pushing the farm gate prices up. Incentivizing production, not this issue of pre-financing production, but incentivizing production. And when people produce, they were able to remove that production. So one of the shocks which happened in 1983 is the Ugandan economy, it suddenly picked up in the agriculture sector especially. Grew by I think 38% in 1 year. The economy picked up, the rural economy picked up, and you hear the stories that, oh, in the early part of NRM, the rural economy picked up. Yes, it picked up because they're using the UPC program. That program will work today, tomorrow, and the next. But you have to value the people. You have to make sure that you're creating an avenue for the people that they can be able to earn. Today, if we had a crisis, if food failed, There are very, very few families or we don't have any storage. We don't have food reserve. I was a young person, 1984, when we had this huge drought in Ethiopia. I had just gone to the UK, my first year of A-levels, and what happened in UK is I saw one school, the students decided to cut their budget and send the excess to their fellow students in Ethiopia. That went what people call today viral. Every school was doing it. Musicians came in, money was collected to take supplies to Ethiopia. You know one funny thing? Those NGOs ended up coming to Parliament building looking for some of the food. I was privileged to witness a letter where my father was actually, he played me this, what I'll call, I've lost this paper, help me find this paper, because earlier on I'd come to him. The school where I was, when the diet was biting, people were saying, why should I eat this muck because some nigger cannot feed themselves? The students, they were arguing, why should their diet change to feed an African? Why can't the African feed themselves? I came to my president's office because we were doing fundraising. So later on, he has this letter. But he's saying, I've lost a letter, help me find it. I'm checking on the desk. I find this letter where these NGOs are getting their material from Nalukulongo. Loaded, Nalukulongo, on the train to go to Mombasa. What happened later? Instead of produce going from Uganda to the coast, we are now receiving World Food Program in Nalukulongo. Really? The stores were given to them to take these products out, being produced by Ugandans. Incentivized production by Ugandans to take things out. The facility in Jinja was to take the grain out. People talk about we don't have facilities. Go to Mombasa, we have facilities on the port. We have warehouses, and Ugandan grain and produce was going out. That was 1980s. And somebody wants to tell you that, oh, when we came, everything was collapsed. No. The actual history of Uganda, you go and read the Hansard of Speaker Francis Butagira. If you want to know a history of a nation, look at the Hansard, look at the court record, and then also look at the media. If you want to critique Obote, look at the Hansard. And I'm not going to, I have all of these, but I want people to go and read for themselves, to go and determine for themselves, because they say, maybe this one created, but the problem with Ugandans, they don't read. They don't read.
Now that issue of food reserves.
Milton Obote provided a market mechanism for the currency. 1981. Now you're saying that is socialist. Now, a socialist, Milton Obote, provided a market mechanism in 1981. Then you had a capitalist democratic, Professor Mulema, in 1986, brings a fixed economy, fixed market, fixed currency in 1986. Then you had these extreme leftists at that time, the Musevenis and the group, they go and they put a fixed. Within a few months, it collapsed because the inflation was not sustainable. They were forced now to float the currency. That is now when they removed 2 zeros and they brought the shilling to 14 shillings to $1 in 1987. What is the dollar today? So if you calculate how much the shilling has lost in the 40 years, which is 14 divided by that 3,008 or whatever, you are going to get the shilling has lost about 30,000%. We have grown, we've grown. Yes, you've grown and then you've lost, your shilling has lost 30%. Have you grown? Please, those are statistics you play around with. People now talk market economy. I'm telling you, UPC introduced the market economy in June 1981. Let anybody tell me otherwise. Museveni pretends that he introduced it. No, he didn't. The program he copied. I'll defend it anywhere.
Yes, sir.
That's a bit of a cold storage. There's some exports, there's fish, horticulture exports. Now, it's in the interest of Uganda that we export. But although for me, my biggest interest first is we feed the Ugandans. And this is an issue when you compare the UPC recovery program with the NRM rehabilitation development plan. Even on the question of fish, there was an issue where UPC or Bote's program was, we must first feed the children of Uganda. Right now we are concentrating more on exporting the fish. We can boast $600 million of exported fish, and then you have malnourished Ugandan children eating mgongowazi. Protein is the cheapest source, has always been the cheapest source. So for me, Ugandan first. After we feed the Ugandans, we look at the export. Now that is where you earn your income. So you need a cold facility. We have the lakes. Most of the fish come out of the Kyoga Basin. Which airports are close to the Kyoga Basin? Hoima and Gulu. Unless you want somebody to come from there, cross, I don't know how many hours with traffic, and by the time you export your fish, whatever. But if you have this cold hub, it helps. You go to other countries, they have this cold facility so that people are able to aggregate. You want the individual to do it. Now, this thing of, capitalist. Capitalist is a market economy, but at the end of the day, it's the people who matter. Can I say I'm capitalist and somebody is dying and then I say I'm not going to do anything because I'm capitalist? If you're capitalist and you won't care about somebody dying, then you're not human. We must be human first. I'm a leftist, yes, but I'm a practical, and I'm driven by market economy. Nothing which I presented does not touch on the market economy. But our approach is different. Our focus is different. Health service will only work when the first priority is the life of the citizens of Uganda. The priority today is the survival of the government in power. There's a big difference. For me and for UPC, it's the people. And where most? The children. If our children under 5, 2 million children under 5, we are ready to sacrifice them for what we're getting now, I am not ready for that. That's why I talk. That's why I stand. I invite you to look for the Hansard, look for any statement, look for any show, and show me my change of tone. I've always spoken the issues. On the floor of parliament, I've spoken the issues. On health, I've spoken the issues. On animal health, I've spoken the issues, and that's an area which I worked in. Okay. I have raised it on the floor. One of the issues I tell them that the problem you're failing is because you don't know why you are there. You don't know the purpose. I've raised the issue. Education must be a qualitative and a quantitative improvement in the citizen. And for me, the citizen is the most valuable. I've said it always. I can say it politely, I can say it also with vigor, but I say the same message. You read the Hansard, look for it. You see, the people say, I cannot say this, I cannot say that. I say, okay, you show me. Okay. In this day of media, there's nothing which is going to disappear. Produce it. Produce it. You see, people make their own things and then they attribute it to you, and then you want me to defend what is in your mind. I don't know what's in your mind. I know what I am and what I stood for.
What's in my mind, sir?
No, I can't answer what's in your mind. I can answer what's in mine. Okay. Years ago, I did not have a pathway. Okay. I was creating the pathway. I was creating the pathway. I needed to create a pathway which will give me a credible aspect where I can get a national platform to push our issues. Faisal, leave him. I'm saying, Faisal, leave him. 10 years ago, I was creating the pathways to be effective in what I'm trying to deliver. You can have a message, but if you fail to get the platform where to deliver it, or have the impact on how you can deliver it, the message can be lost. So if I stand on the street, even if I have the best message, and I just stand there in the middle of the street and I try to give that message, it will not have the impact. You must create the environment. And this environment was based around the contesting. And the contesting was based around creating an avenue whereby I can force the 50+1 question to be asked. or at least a question to be thought about, that there's a possibility that you can get a way whereby nobody is going to get the 50+1. And what did I want to do when I was doing that? Make sure the issues, which I've been talking about always, but lack the platform to be able to present them as adequately as I wanted. So, do I regret? There's a time for everything. There's a time for everything. And for me, maybe what you want to hear is, there was never a no-compete clause. But there are those who assume there was, and there are those who try to enforce a non-compete clause which does not exist. And because of that one, yes, I am a bit agitated and have a right to be.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm not sure that I've never been in this.
Betty has been a member of cabinet. That was the offer. That is 2016. I can talk about 2011, but it's not relevant to our conversation. 2016, I was offered a position on cabinet. I thought through it, but I decided not to reject the president. I decided let me honor him and let me respect him. So I did the respectable thing in that I brought my wife and I gave my wife that opportunity after discussing with her and the president agreeing that I can substitute. When I substituted, the president was happy. He complimented and said, thank you. And of recent, he has acknowledged that giving your wife is a testament that you trust somebody. That's why I say, Madharau. You know Kiswahili? Madharau.
Which I admit, but I like to be educated.
Madharau. At least if you're going to insult me, you bring somebody of substance. Or you come yourself, but you don't send me a kwara. The other time we had somebody moving around talking, wah, wah, wah. What happened to her? Who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? What happened? Me, I'm here to stay. My politics, I'll do it open. Now they're threatening, oh, you're going to remove. Really? Really? At least the president was careful enough to pretend and say, hey, I didn't know these things were happening in court. These are the announcing. Are we really wise when we announce before? You undermine the very judiciary. And you undermine the future. But for me, the biggest problem, I've said the biggest asset of Uganda is its people. So you must appreciate, now instead of these side routes which you keep taking me, oh, where were you 10 years ago? 2 million people today, 2026. Where are you now? You are here 2026. What are you going to do about 2 million Ugandan children who are malnourished? I ask you, Melangarian News. Hello? What are you going to do about the 2 million Ugandan children who are starving today? You are now aware. You cannot not be aware. Are you going to do anything? Or it's going to be business as usual? Are you going to wake up and say, no, there's a problem, 2 million Ugandan children under 5 are malnourished? Are you okay with it?
Not at all, sir.
Then, let's wake up. Let's wake up. Don't go on these side issues. What is this issue? What was I doing 10 years ago? So what was I doing 10 years ago? If I was a fool 10 years ago, I may still be a fool now. But I'm telling you today, 2 million Ugandan children are starving. Not tomorrow, today. What are we going to do? Are we going to pretend we don't know? I can't. It wakes me up at night. It keeps me up at night. But we have solutions. Do we have a chance to present them? No. And then the one who, you're blocked and then they mock you. Honestly.
So very finally.
On the agricultural policy, we have to be able to have storage. We have the ability to produce, we have the best climate, we have reasonable soils, we just do not have the organization and the planning to be able to do so that we cater for such issues. We should not be rains are late for 2-3 weeks and people are really starving. We should have the capacity, internal capacity. Sometimes we may have the capacity, but it will not work. It may not be the right place to distribute. I'll give you the example. In the President's State of the Nation, he mentioned that the national average for Uganda is 70 liters per person. World Health Organization recommends 200 liters per person per year. That's milk consumption. In Uganda, the milk consumption varies from the high of 170 liters per person per year to the low of 20 liters per person per year. Are you getting me here? 20 liters per person per year is the lowest. Now the president has his milk which he wants to sell. And he's saying he's looking for market to sell. We have in Uganda children starving region with only 20 liters per person per year. And World Health Organization recommends 200 liters, and the president is struggling for market for his milk. I am looking for milk for my children. These children of Uganda, those are my children. If people want to throw away these children, I'll say bring to me. Because they are the future. I'll be dead long before them. But they're the ones to carry us forward. We must raise them. We must guide them. We must be able to educate them. We must be able to build them up. We must also give them moral character. That is something which is lacking in today's politics. Moral character and commitment to a cause. Commitment to a cause. Committed to a purpose. Those are things you find lacking today. But we must raise a generation, must be able to do that one. And who's going to do it? Look around. If it's not you, who? If not you, who? That's the question was posed to me once. If it's not you, who? Who should save your country? Who should help your children? Who should plan for your future? Who should articulate your needs? Who should be the one fighting for your life? All of these areas, UPC has had strong policy positions. Records show it. And you want to reduce UPC to something? No, not when Akena's on watch. I say all this for God and my country.